to the Relentless CEO Podcast with Adam Kifer. Follow your path to success alongside icons and industry leaders in martial arts, fitness, and more. Let's go. This is the Relentless CEO Podcast.
All right, great to have you on the podcast, man. Thank you for joining us today. I know you're a busy guy, so you taking some time out of your schedule is super appreciative on our part.
No, I appreciate it, man. Love being here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you as a sponsor for the summit this year as well. So thank you for partnering with us in that. Hey, Relentless Nation, what is up? If you've been listening to this podcast, you know I never sell anything on this podcast. We don't even have sponsors for our podcast because I want it to be about giving you value. That's going to change for this episode and for the next few because we have the most important event in the history of the martial arts industry coming up, the Relentless Membership Summit in Chandler, Arizona. This is an event that every martial arts school that wants to level up and push the boundaries of what they can do and the impact they can make should be at, because you're not only going to be around industry experts in business, marketing, instruction, athlete development, but you're also going to be around people from outside the industry that have scaled success at levels we've never even seen at our industry. For example, one speaker alone has over $100 million in sales. Another speaker was the video director for Mr. Beast, the 245 million subscriber YouTube channel. And then we have industry staples like myself and Dave Kovar and Jody Tension and Kelly Murray. We are bringing you guys the best of the best to help you guys get to the next level. And I will promise you this will be unlike any other martial arts event you've ever been to in the best ways possible. Our speakers are accessible. You can come up and talk to me in between sessions. You can come network with us at the networking party. And we like to go all out with our entertainment. We're bringing you guys some of the best stand-up comedians as well to perform at this. So you guys are going to have fun. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to level up. And you're more importantly going to get to go home and make a massive impact in your community as a result. Tickets are on sale now. Get them before they've gone. We've sold out the last 3 years. RelentlessSummit.com is where you can grab your ticket. And I hope to see you at the summit. Now back to the podcast. I know I've known you for a while now, and it's been really fun to watch your sort of rise with my studio. And a lot of people may not know that you also own martial arts schools as well.
Yeah.
How many locations do you have right now?
We've got 5 locations now, and a couple of locations on licensing. But the locations that we own, we have 5 locations
Awesome.
and still own that. Yeah, they do quite well. Started off as an instructor, competitor, just like most people, right? I started teaching full time and had the opportunity to buy the school that I was at. So, thanks to Master John Cassidy there, and yeah, that's how we kind of started.
Yeah, John's awesome too. And one of the things that I'm impressed with your school is just how systemized everything is. And you guys have a very different model than a lot of other martial arts schools with how things run. Can you just talk our audience sort of through what's different about your school and how it's run compared to the average martial arts school?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's too much different, right, Adam? It's just maybe it's not like what we teach is different, it's how we do it and why we do it. Maybe that's what we're kind of talking about. We do traditional Taekwondo, Kukkiwon, World Taekwondo Federation, Taekwondo style. We kind of chopped up the forms to make it more digestible for younger students, right?
Smart.
I guess the biggest difference we did was we made the decision 6 years ago to really change our business, was that we narrow down our target market to just kids. So we don't try to be everything to everybody. We're like, if someone asks me, what do I do for a living? I say, I provide martial art instructions to kids.
Yep.
That's it. Not everybody. Now we still have, family classes. We don't have adult and teen class. We have family classes for parents who wants to train with their kids, but it's the same curriculum that the kids learn.
Got
right.
it.
So we don't really care about how hard it is or how easy it is. Like this, a perfect curriculum for kids. So, and then with that, we have the after school program, which we're known for in the summer camps. So across the 5 locations, we're located in Northern Virginia, DC area. We average about 1.05 million in revenue per location annually.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, so they're bigger schools, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted smaller amount of schools, but instead of having 15 schools that average 300,000 per school, or 20 schools that average 300,000 a school, we wanted 5 that average $1 million. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have any front desk person at your school. Is that correct? Or close?
We do,
you do
in our
now.
bigger
Okay.
schools. Yeah, in
Got
our
it.
bigger
Got
schools.
it.
Like, So like when we open up a new school, our Fairfax location is a perfect one, right? We opened up Fairfax and then we opened up my studio at the same time. And we want to see, hey, can we create a system, a
Mm,
software system along with a business system that can facilitate a one man or one woman operation full time. And so that particular school has no offices, no front desk, no anything. And we ran it and it did so well that this year it's coming up on 800,000 in gross, In
that's awesome.
2019, when it did 350, no, we had nobody in the front desk. When it did 500,000, we don't have anybody in the front desk. When it started doing 700,000, 800,000, you kind of need a part-time person.
Yep.
Again, this is a high schooler or a college student or a black belt of ours or mom that works from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Mm,
So that's what I mean when I say front desk person. I'm kind of like when you go into a nice restaurant, you have a hostess or a hoster
sure.
that's up there to welcome you, open the door for you. That's kind of our front. We don't have a full-time person like what we would call a program director.
Got it.
So,
So I know the question that a lot of people are probably thinking is, how the hell do you operate that way? Do you have people greeting? Do you have like enrollments? How does that work? I know the answer to a lot of these questions, but I know our audience is hearing this and be like, I don't understand, does not compute. Can you dive into that a little bit?
yeah, I know you do a lot of this as well, and you teach a lot of this in Relentless, and I think it's great. Um, I think we always talk about this, right? As I was growing up with you, when I go to these seminars with Master Dave Kovar and Master Bill Clark at the super shows, they would say, "Hey, the product is on the mats,
Mhm.
right? Your product's on the mats. That should sell itself, right?" So we really, really adapt that and went all in on that theory. If we spent all of our time servicing our customers and really just focusing just on our product, what would that look like? People would want to buy, right? No matter how. It's kind of like when you have a hole in the wall restaurant that's really well known.
Sure.
Maybe like everything isn't great about it, but people still go there anyways, and it's still packed. There's still a line and wait, right? So that's kind of what we do. So we developed my studio to where people can just sign up from a nice tablet that we have up front. They
Sure.
can sign up from our website. Like 100% of our, I want to say 100, 90+% of our trials come from our website. When they come in, they're like, I want to register for my trial. Like, oh, no problem. Please go to encouragemartialarts.com. Our free trial offer is there. They book that and it automatically goes into our automation systems and everything else that comes with that, right?
Awesome.
So yeah, so you just have to have automation. You have systems that goes with it. And then like registering for our memberships is easy. We offer a 1 free week trial. So at class number 1, after we check in your attendance, you should get an automated text that says, "Hey, great job seeing your class." The next day, 11 a.m. next day.
Sure.
Can't wait to see you again. The second class, when you come, you automatically get, here's our link to our membership options. Let me know if you have any questions. And then our team, the instructors, their job is to teach that student, walk outside with a nice little piece of paper, right? That has
Mhm.
all of our program costs on it. We only have 3 programs, actually 2 now. We had a one time per week, but we keep that internal because we want people to train 2 or 3
Yeah.
times at least.
We just did the same thing not too long ago.
Yeah. The
Yep.
option's there, but we want them to come at least 2 because we know retention is better, right? They
100%.
progress in their belt. So for all those reasons, so we have a 2 times a week and a 3 times a week, and that's it. And do you want to pay monthly or do you want to save a little bit monthly or a little bit of money and commit to 6 months and pay that in full, and then billing starts on the 7th month, right? So that's it. So from a sales perspective, we don't have a number for our team to hit how much percentage go where. We don't care
Sure.
about that. We just say, just make sure you follow up and convert 50% of your trials. That's it. That's our only impetus to them.
And for your ads, 'cause I know you said a lot of your trials come from the website. Are you running ads directly to the website then?
All of our ads go to our website.
Okay. Cool.
So some of our ads we don't even run to the website. We run straight to a registration link
Sure.
to save them the time, right? So if I'm gonna have a QR code on the ad, that the flyer that I'm sending to the elementary school or Google or Facebook, I have a QR code that goes straight to our offer for that particular school.
Good.
As you know, if we can save people 1 or 2 clicks, generally the click converts a little better.
Sure. And then AI is huge right now, and I know you guys have been doing some cool stuff with AI that I got to test out a bit. Where do you sort of see AI going for our industry? Because I know right now we're using it in like 85 different facets and just testing and playing around with it. Where do you see it going?
I think lead conversion and trial to membership conversion is
Same.
always the easiest thing, right? If someone is interested already on our website and they're clicking around, they opt in, they may get an immediate text right then and there, which is cool. But
Mhm.
then if they respond with a question, it now depends on us to answer it, right?
Agreed.
So for our app operator, I mean, obviously you and I operate multi-location schools, so we're not answering those, but our partners or whoever's in charge of that school, they act as the sole owner of that school.
Mhm.
They want to get back to it because they know that the faster they respond, the conversion rate from that lead to trial is like 5x, right?
Yep.
So with AI, we're able to take our sales system, put it in our term, the way that we talk, and put it all in there. And then the system that we built through my studio is called Amplify. It will literally answer every single question that they have, lead them through our sales funnel, ABC, always be closing. That's what we
Yep.
tell. And we program our AI platform to do that. Be like, hey, like quantifiers are easy, right? Who's this for? Is this for you, Adam? Is this for somebody else? It's
Sure.
actually for my daughter. Okay, perfect. Can I ask how old your daughter is? This will help me to lead you to the right program. 6. Perfect. That's going to be our Tigers program. We offer a 1 free week lesson. You can come anytime. Would you like to know the class times? Yeah, that'll be perfect. Great. We meet Mondays and Wednesday at 5, Tuesday and Thursday at 4, and then Saturday at 9. Our next 2 available class times are this coming Friday at 5 and Saturday at 9. Does those dates work for you? They say yes, but before that, how much are your classes? We say, well, our program starts at $149 per month after your trial. They're like,
Awesome.
perfect. Saturday works great. We book it right there on text. They don't have to click anything. And then you have a trial scheduled for Saturday, right? That's how, from a very high level, to how it works. And this
Sure.
is how, like restaurants too, right? When you're
Yep.
coming in and texting for booking an appointment time or like a table, it's all online now. Everything is there. The menu's
100%.
online, like tables. So we're trying to do the same thing here with martial art classes.
And since you guys have been using AI, are you seeing any increase in conversion percentage for leads, or is there not enough
5x.
data yet?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, wow.
No. We have
Good.
over 100 schools using it now.
Good.
Maya and the Century Championship schools, Mike Metzger,
Yep.
they put it on right before Memorial Day because they're like, well, I have ads running. You guys are going Memorial Day break. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So we launched Amplify, and just yesterday I got an email from their social media marketing manager. He said, sir, your Amplify platform is booking 3 people in the same appointment, and our limitation is 2. How do I solve this? And my first answer is like, what a
Like
good
good
problem to
problems.
have.
Yes.
Like what a good problem to have. Make sure you set the class limits that you want to do that. And so it's, to answer your question, it's working really well. We're seeing 5x of what we're doing. And if people have their marketing, strategy right and they're getting the leads, should be an easy close. And the reason why it's an easy close, not because AI is answering better than you, it's just it's available 24/7 and it can carry 1,000 conversation at once. So you're not having to stop at dinner because I'm on your website. I click opt in, I get a text, I have a question, it responds to me. So when they're hot, you know what I mean? Like you sell it
Yeah.
right there. Like a day later, they forget about it.
Yeah. I love it. We did a test, I want to say about 6 months ago, and we weren't using even AI, but I was just specifically tracking leads that we got responses from in the first 5 minutes compared to the rest of our leads. It was like a 48% increase in conversion if we got a response in the first 5 minutes, which that's a game changer. It's the most important stat, I feel like, in lead follow-up.
Yeah, you're looking at 5x like lead conversion, percentages when you're, and that's huge for income, right?
Yes.
Because let's say out of 100 leads, you can convert 2 of them, which is not bad, into trial, right? Now you're getting 3 or 4, 100%. Let's just say is 100% X.
Yep.
That equals to 2x the amount of new students that you're bringing in your door if you're running your classes right after your trial, right? So it's huge. Yeah, so it can be big.
I love that. Do you see any other uses for it in our industry?
There's just so many more, but I think the more the AI starts to be more mainstream, the more people would want human-to-human connections.
I agree.
And this is where martial arts and the instructor-student on the floor experience is just going to be invaluable. So, we are the one industry that I never worry about going out of business because of AI or robots, right? Because the opposite is always true. When there's something that's overwhelmingly over here, like AI and non-human interaction, our natural human tendency is going to want human interactions. COVID is a prime example of this, right? When everything was out of COVID, every single martial arts, gym membership, golf, whatever you name, went through the roof. So
yes.
So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool to see what else we can start doing with AI. One of my mentors, a guy named Perry Belcher, has a goal of creating the first $1 billion company with one employee. He wants the entire company to be run with AI agents, and he's pretty damn close to making it happen. So when I see stuff like that from the martial arts industry, I'm thinking like, oh, you might be able to automate every aspect of marketing and like the front of house, customer service, all of that with AI at some point, where you can just have instructors in a school running the whole thing, not having to be
Exactly.
great at sales or anything, and everything else is AI.
And that's more scalable,
I
right?
agree.
That's a lot more scalable, right? And let's say I have $100,000 for payroll, 50,000 goes to the main instructor, 50,000 goes to the program manager.
Mm.
Now, if AI can take care of the manager stuff, because I know AI can't teach martial arts, I
Yep.
can pay my instructor $75,000 now, and then the 25,000 leftovers for part-time staff or just welcoming.
Hmm.
And I have a very happy instructor who's really good at what he or she does. And then you got that, nice, and you only have one person you got to worry about and manage. So I believe so. Like right now, like in about 6 months, if you're using the My Studio platform and your student texts you and say, "Hey, what time is my class today?" The system already knows your phone number you're texting from. It correlates to the child or students that you have, know what program you're in and what class they have that day. There's no reason why I say, "Hey, your class at 5 o'clock today. Would you like me to register you for that?"
Yep.
It's very simple to do. Anything that comes with buying and purchasing, like, "Hey, I'm going on vacation. Can you put my program on hold for 3 months?" That's easy.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, I just want to confirm we're going to go ahead and put Susie on hold for 5 months. Our policy is that, maximum on hold is 3 months. So your billing date is going to be on this date here. Is that okay? If they say no, great. You know what? Let me have someone from the studio call you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then now
I
you get
love
a
that
text.
too, because it allows your people to focus more on the people in the business and creating those relationships and not have to worry about so much of the off the mat stuff. And I'm sure you know this as well as I do, is most instructors don't always have an organized skill set off the mat. Like they will teach a killer class, but you ask them to be organized off the mat and it's like a different skill set. And this almost eliminates the need for that so they can just focus on their superpower.
Yeah, it's like a franchise system. It's like a franchise system that is so automated, right?
Hmm.
And you can tweak immediately. You can say, "Hey, I answered like this instead of that. Do this instead of that," and it's just systematic, right?
Sure.
And the only way that it will interact at this point is SMS, Facebook messaging, email, whatever. AI can handle all of that response.
Yep.
And then you say, "Hey, when the customer says this, or in this case, text me for me to call them." That's all the staff member wants to do. They get a text, "Hey, please call Adam Kifer. He's not happy with the 3 month on hold policy."
Mm.
Right? Because you
Yeah,
said,
that's
"I'm going to be
awesome.
away for 5 months," and your policy say only allow 3 months. Right? And they said,
Yeah.
"No, I'm not happy with that." So now I'm going to call and be like, "Hey, Adam, I understand you were just talking to one of our team members that blah, 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 whatever. I'm going to make an exception for you. I'll put in 5 months. We want you here. We want you to come back. I love working with, John in the class." All is
Yeah.
set. Like that. That stuff our instructors can do.
I feel like 10 years ago we'd be like, this is impossible. That's magic. And the speed that AI has accelerated has been fun to watch. I was having a conversation with someone at one of the top supply companies not too long ago, and I've heard this multiple times now within the last couple months. Their view of the industry right now is interesting to me because we're seeing a lot of schools go out of business right now. We're seeing a lot of schools struggling financially. They're ordering less, all this stuff. I don't know if we're seeing it worse on our end than any other time, or if it's just people moving away from traditional supply companies and using people in Pakistan, China, all that stuff, because honestly, the service isn't much different in my opinion at this point. But what are you seeing as in terms of industry trends right now? Are you seeing the same thing that they're reporting, or are you seeing something different?
Yeah, so we're probably talking to the same folks in the industry.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
probably.
So we're kind of probably in the same circles, and to a certain degree, I think it's true. It's just like COVID, right? People were saying 50% of martial art business is going to fail,
Hmm.
and the industry will be so different coming out of it. It's not so different
No.
coming out of it. If anything, excuse me, like the studios that have always done well are doing even better now.
Yep.
right? And then we still see schools opening, and my studio growth, we're seeing the growth there. It is harder for people, I see, to they're kind of a little wary about where the economy is going. So as far as from a volume standpoint, like we see a little bit in Northern Virginia at our schools, like we're kind of sheltered by the U.S. government work that's here.
Sure.
We're located in Fairfax and Loudoun County, consistently ranked in the past 10 years as the top family income in the United States. Top 3.
That's
right?
awesome.
Yeah. So even with the 2008 market crash in real estate, our market housing here only lost like 3%, man. Compared to Vegas, Florida, it was like 50%, right? So regarding actual numbers from our schools, like I don't see a trend there. My studio overall, we haven't seen a huge dip in processing, but I will say our biggest company is on our platform is about 400 units. So this is probably the best indicator. And Canada, we've seen about an 8% drop year over year. US, we've seen about a 7 to 6% drop year over year, right? As far as their enrollments and what we're seeing now, they've had locations that are open, closed, and things like that as well. So, I mean, but I'm not seeing like a huge 25, 30% across my studios. I can't give you a number because we're signing on new people every day.
Yeah.
So I can't be like this many
sense.
this many studios divided by this X amount of growth because we're growing 5, 6%, every month.
All right, I got a question for you. It's hoping I hope you guys do this. I don't know if it's in your plans. So when I was more heavily in the fitness industry, and you might know about this too, has a report they release every year that is all of the KPI data for like the entire industry. So you can see like overall closing percentage, you can see average lifetime value, all that stuff. And being in the fitness industry as much as I was before, it was awesome because we had like this metric to gauge the success of our locations against. We could also use that to sort of see where things were trending in certain ways. Have you ever thought about, since you have so much data from my studio, about putting out like an annual report or anything? And this is just my own selfish interest, but just putting it out to the industry to be like, hey, this is the industry trends for this year, and maybe leading the forefront in that, because I think it would be super beneficial to a lot of school owners, not to put you on the spot in front of everyone.
Yeah, I think from a marketing standpoint, it makes sense for a company to do that, right? It sheds more light into my studio and what we're doing. Our marketing team is working on that right now.
Awesome.
We're looking at data across, the 2,500 studios that we serve, plus another 800 Century Direct customers that we work with through the Century Direct platform, as far as retail as well, right? So it's a bit of a data crunch to get that. So it's not like a button we can push it like,
report button, boom.
Yeah, give me that. Yeah. And then we also have to be careful with the data that we have as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Because
that's
the data protection policies and whatnot. But if we're looking at holistic data, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
For example, I just told you, let's say we signed up 50 schools this month. They're not processing anything. So we have to kind of, move them out and focus on only studio that has fully migrated into the My Studio platform.
Sure.
Or at least the data is going to be at least 6 to 7 months behind where we are right now, because we can't count on the new schools that are on. So those are all the factors that makes it, we don't want to just spit something out there to be like, oh, this is industry,
Sure.
You know me, I'm pretty data oriented. I don't want to put something out there.
Well, that's why I popped the question to you, because I was like, you pay as much attention, if not more, to data than I do. And I'm like, I'm sure you're geeking out on the overall numbers. I'm like, I want to geek out on that too.
So that's why I can give you one organization. We did for them.
Yeah.
Like, of their 375 to 400 schools, that's what we saw. They're not in the martial arts industry. They're in the children enrichment industry, which is same as us.
Yeah.
Similar. So it's going to be the same, kind of very similar, right? But I don't think double digits, Adam. My gut and what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing that. So it's not like a 2008 or COVID. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I had the same intuition when I was talking to them. And part of me is seeing even like a lot of our own clients are going their own route for like supplies now. Like I know a lot of them have a Pakistan or a China or someone overseas that they're ordering from. And I think part of it is after COVID, we saw a lot of the customer service fall off for like a lot of the supply companies. I think a lot of them worked on building it back up and are doing better now. And then you just see like shipping constantly going up for all sorts of items. There's one supply company we ordered like bow staffs from before we switched over to the curriculum we're doing now. And like for 2 bow staffs, the shipping was just as much as it cost for the bow staffs themselves. So I think those companies are maybe seeing more of a hit because of that, and maybe thinking the industry is going that way. But yeah, I was just curious on your thought process.
So I don't know the other big brand. I can speak for Century and Century Direct itself. We have seen double-digit growth in Century Direct platform since COVID until now, and it just continued to grow. So I think to your point, the business to consumer market, I think is doing well.
Yes,
business to business, that's shipping. It hurts, right? Because let's say Century has to pay that no matter what. Trust me, they're not trying to make money on shipping or any other shipping company, I think. And if they are, they're going to lose long term because shipping's already high. So for us at Encourage, at least, I don't want to hold inventory. Like we can easily, between our 5 schools, spend about $100,000 and get a big shipment from India, Vietnam, China, wherever to come our way. But I just don't want to put $100,000 down on equipment, man. That's just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't want to carry inventory. I don't want to rent out a storage place where, I can store all this crap. It's just another piece of work. I just did my math on our school, and maybe this is a bad number. Maybe it's a good number. I don't know. I think it's a good number. But of the $5.3 million in gross that we did last year, the past 12 months, less than 6% of that was retail. And some school was 3%.
You're not getting multiples on retail if you sell.
No, exactly. And that's, I don't want my team to focus, but it's still a big number, right? But what we do is like for the sparring gear, the headgear and all that, we go through Century Direct. Our customers are buying that and they're paying the $7 shipping fee, right? So we don't care. Like it's needed, they get it. So I just don't want to store it, So that's been working well for us, and we've seen really good growth in that particular retail industry from the Century Direct to customer shipping, at least.
Yeah, that's awesome. Question for you: as much data as you have, where do you think is one area that our industry is currently failing in that we could do better in?
It's just, again, understanding some of these key performance indicators that you're talking about. People are always looking for like what's the newest and greatest trend, and in business, and it's not about the different type of programs or different type of membership options you have, or if you do paid in full, or if you do paid ads, or if you do paid trials or no, it's just about creating students and not losing students. But if you don't, some people are like, I have 500 students, and I said, what the hell does that mean? Are they all free? Do they pay you $10? Did they pay you $100? How much is your rent? How big is your space? How much do you pay your team? Do you work 80 hours? You know what I mean? Like, if you look at true KPI, there's only one KPI that matters: net.
Yes, agreed. And it's the one never talked about in our industry, ever.
I don't care how many students you have or how big your school are. What is your net take home last year? And how many hours did you work? Right? At your school. And then below that, so I always measure success from the net of the business, because that's a CEO, right? Your goal is to make sure your company makes money.
Also, anyone from outside looking at your business to acquire it one day, that's the only number they're going to care about.
I want to talk to you about the PE company that made a pitch to buy Encourage after this.
Nice.
So we did have one, then we're talking about it. So you have your net, right? After that, I say, how many hours did you work as a business owner? Because that tells me, like, do you actually own your business, or does your business own you regarding time, right? And the third thing is, how much are you paying your staff? Right? Because those 3 are, I think, factors that really matter, because you're creating value and net for yourself, you're saving yourself time, and you're creating really good jobs for the economy.
Sure.
Right? Because if we say that, the average martial art instructor makes $100,000 per year, that's not the case, by the way, but I'm just saying that the average, if we can say that as an industry and say the average martial art instructors makes $100,000 per year, I guarantee you we will not have a shortage of instructors that we have now.
Yeah, you're not going to have parents so adamantly wanting their kids to go to college instead of become a martial arts instructor, which is what I hear from like every school owner. And I'm like, I don't think you're future pacing the right way or paying the right way. I'm like,
Yeah,
one of two of those or both.
if they see the instructor Samantha over there is driving Mercedes to work, and she has her own house, and she's 25 and she's making 80 to 100K a year, I want that life. Like
Yeah, if you're owning a school and Uber driving on the side, I don't think your other instructor is going to be like, hell yeah, I want to own a school someday.
yeah,
Not
or you have
saying
a
that
full-time day
you
job,
might
which is
have to do
fine.
that, but yeah,
If you have a full-time day job and then you run your school from 5 to 8, I mean, that's just a burnout phase waiting to happen, right? Whether you're going to run your school full-time
yep,
or do another job full-time, that's kind of my goal when I talk with anybody. Is like, hey, if you want to do this full-time or not, right? And that's the first decision I think they have to make.
yeah. If it's a hobby, you're going to treat it like a hobby. It's not going to be a business ever. So yeah, I agree with that. When we get into KPIs, there's a lot that I track for our school. What are some of the main KPIs that you're looking at? Obviously, we talked about net. What else are you looking at besides net and an employee?
Yeah. So that's
salary?
three. There's only three that I track. Of course, my team tracks a lot more, right? Retention.
Sure.
And I can tell you the average student stay 9 months across the whole My Studio system. That fact I know for sure.
That
As we
hurts.
track. I know. And this is across 2,500. Yeah, it hurts. But so we track net, right? I want my schools at least get 25% net. With me not being in it. So that's the first thing. Second is the largest is rent payroll and rent and payroll. So if you take your gross or you take your net divided by your gross, you get your net percentage, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your gross is 100,000 and you net 25,000, 25,000 divided by 100,000 gives you 25% net.
Yep.
I know you know all this. I know most of you guys know all this. I'm just being very blatant here to make sure that we're on the same page. Next is the space that we rent. So it's gross divided by rent. So my gross divided by whatever I made $100,000 last year. How much was my rent? If my rent was 20,000 for the whole year, 100,000 divided by 20,000 gives me 5. That particular KPI needs to be above 5. Otherwise, you're not maximizing your space or you're overpaying for the space that you're in.
Yeah, we do 15 to 20% is sort of our goal, which is pretty much the same thing as what you just said. Yep.
Exactly. So perfect. And the next is payroll. And if you're working in your school and you're saying you can't just take the payroll of everybody else, right? If you're working a full-time job in your school, you need to quantify yourself as like, how much would I pay me if there was another me and I don't work, right? So gross divided by total payroll needs to be over 3. So if I do the math here real quick, okay, I make $100,000 and my rent needs to be at around 20,000. That gives me $80,000 left to work with. Yeah. And if my payroll is going to be over 3, that means I'm paying $33,000 in payroll total. That gives me $47,000 to work with after I pay my rent and my payroll, which is my biggest cost. Then you got your utilities, your other small things like equipment. You should be netting around 25-30% easy. Insurance and all of that. So that's kind of the 3 metrics that I look at.
No, I think that's smart. And one thing I want to point out to everyone too is notice that Tu talked about profit before everything. Like the first number that you were talking about is profit. And I think a lot of us, or a lot of school owners and business owners in general, look at profit as the leftovers, where it's like, well, whatever I have left after paying everything, that's my profit. But I agree with you. You need to be intentional about profit. Like the profit should, in my opinion, be what gets pulled out first, and then use everything else to pay what you need to do.
And it's not a selfish point of view. It's my job as a CEO. If the company is not successful, I don't have a community that can benefit from my services as a martial art instructors. We know martial arts better kids than adults. We know that, okay? Yep. Second, all the people in my company will lose their jobs. That's the second thing, right? And then third, I hope I haven't put my name and my wife's name, my family's name on some lease that's locked me up forever, right? That's my future right there. So this is really being responsible. It's not being selfish in any way. Before I go into a new space, I say my goal is to get 25% net from the school. If the rent is $10,000, let's just say the rent is $100,000 per year. I did my math. Before I sign on that lease, I need to confidently say, can I make $500,000 from this school?
100%.
That's simple. And then I say, okay, I need to make $500,000 from the school. How many students do I need? Divide that by 200 students, right? $200 per student. That gives you 450 or whatever that is. Can I get 450 in my school? I don't know if I'm doing the math right. I'm doing it quick. Sure. And then I look around the 1 mile radius, because in our area, Most of our students come from a 1 or 2 mile radius. Do I have enough elementary schools in those areas? Because that tells me I have the demographic for it.
Yep.
So it all starts with profit, Adam. And I go backwards in that.
Yeah, we do the same. Like even with our newest location, we knew upon signing the lease what number we had to hit monthly to be at that 25%. And then planning the growth accordingly was like the next step to make sure that we get there no matter what. And I think for our industry, I think it's just people like you and I continuing to educate the industry on that stuff and talking about it. Because you know as much as I do from being in the industry this long, vanity metrics are everywhere, where people love to talk about how many number of students they have. They love to talk about the metrics that don't really matter at the end of the day. But when you ask them profit, I would guess that a majority of school owners, maybe not everyone listening to this call, but a majority of school owners probably don't even know what their profit margin is. Or they just go based on their P&L and then look in their account and they're like, it doesn't match. Like, what's going on? It says I made $10,000
if you're looking at your P&L once a year, that's the first problem there.
Yes.
You should be looking at every week, right? At least.
Yep.
Right. I'm actively in QuickBooks every day with my studio and our 5 companies that we own, right? Just because, I mean, I don't want to say every day, probably every other day, just to make sure that, hey, where are we tracking? Because that's my scoreboard as a CEO. No one's overlooking me, right? No one is firing me. I fire myself if my business starts to lose enough money. I close my business. So that's what I look at as my scoreboard.
Yeah, and I think what you just said is so important for everyone on this podcast to hear is he's not checking his stats once a month. Nope. To me, that's too late to fix anything for the month that you're in. I do the same thing. I look at it daily because I want to see any trends before they get bad. So that way, if I need to go in and focus on training in a specific area with my team, we're in there, we're hitting it, and hopefully improving those metrics by the end of the month so we can still hit our goals. So I love that you do that. With my studio, you guys are getting ready to almost like revamp the platform, right? You have a 2.0 coming out.
Yeah, so we released our platform and in 2018 at $9. It was free actually. We had 300 free users. Yeah, remember? And we had like $9. It's like a free app for your school. It was $9. And we kept on improving the product. We're adding recurring payments, adding events, adding automations, adding all these different things. And the majority of our old-time users who have tried us back then still thinks that we're like that new company that is $9 or $29. So the new platform that's coming out is really kind of revamping everything that we've worked into V1 in a way where it's even more mobile friendly. Like if you look at our app, if you go to the My Studio app iTunes store, you see our reviews. We have the best member app ratings out there in the industry. I don't care who you measure it up against. Spark, Kicksite doesn't have an app, but anybody, if you look at their member app compared to ours is always going to be the best. Why? Because we've built it from the ground up that way. And so we're just doubling down on the sales enablement, your customer's perspective. And then now we know where we were weaker into 2018 was the CRM or the back end functionality, right? We know our student facing part is perfect. So we've done so much work on the back end of it. We're showcasing that with V2 so that people, when they do come back, they're not looking at the same thing. They're like, oh, this is really different. So that's kind of what it is.
That's awesome. And I know you showed me some of the features and stuff. I love what you guys are doing with the stats tracking and the improvements you've made to that. What else is different about it compared to the first version?
Sticking to the basics, like what you and I just talked about, like in your face, like what is the KPI that you're looking at from like, if you put your monthly rent in our system, we're going to show you what that is and what does the industry trend look at. So you're talking about industry trend, right?
Yep.
We're going to say, hey, in your area, because we have enough volume now that we can say, hey, in the Chicago suburb area, it looks like your pricing for per membership is higher or lower than the average of the schools around you.
That's cool.
So things like that, right? So I don't want to wait until an industry report. I want to have that in the dashboard ready for you to go. Your churn rate, your student average link rate, how much a student is worth to you, lifetime value, all of that like in your face right there. So that when you go talk to an Adam Kifer, to coach or whatever, you can just see that from your dashboard without having to go to an Excel sheet, right? And I'm not trying to do 100 stats out there. I'm going to do what I believe and what our team believes, and what you and I believe to be the ones that really matter, right?
Sure.
Because I can show you 100 stats, but if I don't know what to do with them, and what's the point? What's the
Yeah,
point?
I agree. Yeah, and I also just love how simple you guys made the layout of it. It's like when you were showing me when we were on a call not too long ago, just how easy it is to pull up the stats, pull up the date range, pull up everything, and it's very clean and easy to read. It's not clicking 1,000 times to find it, which I think a lot of CRMs in our industry and even in the fitness industry become over cumbersome with how many options, how many places you have to go to see things. And one of the things I love just about seeing you guys' platform is how easy it is. It's like one click,
Yeah,
two click, and you're there.
exactly. Yeah. So, I believe simplicity is really hard to achieve, and you have to have simplicity if you're going to scale.
Mm.
And I'm just talking about martial art business here as well.
Sure.
And so I adopt that in our software business as well, which is a more complex matter, but still, it should still be the same because
Yep.
you have a simple operator like me. I just need a simple platform where I can pull this data and have my students buy stuff. If it comes down
Yeah.
to it, I need my students to buy things, sign a membership, and I check them in. And if I need to put people on hold, cancel them, extend their membership, buy a retail product, those are just like stuff I do every day.
Yeah.
Right? How do we make that front and center so simple for people? That's the first thing, and that's the impetus of the version 2.
Love it. Yeah. I love the innovation that's happening. I think our industry needs as much innovation as possible right now, honestly. So I love that you guys are constantly pushing the envelope and changing things up. Obviously the AI, what you guys are doing with Amplify is really freaking cool too. Where do you, are there any trends you see happening in our industry in the future that you don't see right now, or that most people don't see right
Well,
now?
I'm starting to see right now where I just alluded to earlier. We've been starting getting approached by a lot of private equity company,
Mm.
not for the software company,
Yep.
but for the martial arts company, right? Because of the growth and the potential growth that they see in the industry. And for those of private equity is just a big word for investing, right? And
Yes.
how private equity company works is this. In our company, EBITDA is everything, or net. So
Yep.
if your school nets $100,000, typically it's worth 4x, which means 400,000. Why is that? Well, if you continue working in your business and the business stays the same, let's assume that you're going to make that 400,000 in 4 years and you still own your business. But you have the risk of 4 years, right? So 4x is where a service level business is typically is.
Mhm.
If you are working in your business, that 4x slash down to
Yes.
maybe 2, maybe even 1, right? If you are the main driver in your business, you cannot sell yourself, right? The only thing you can do is
Yeah.
sell your student's contract. And you and I know this, Adam,
Or
and the
or you're
PPE
selling and
companies.
they're gonna be like, you got to stay on for 5 years.
Yeah,
Or
but not
something like
even
that. Yeah.
that. They'll know the churn rate in our industry is 50%.
That's awesome.
Meaning, I'm gonna lose 50% of your current $100,000 net in 1 year. So right away, you're losing half of that. And
And
then since
public
you're not
equity
there,
is not going to run it as good as you either.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now you may get
Private
100,000
equity.
from your
Sorry.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He's not gonna run it as good as you are. So if it's dependent on you, you're gonna get a less multiple. That's why, or you can't even
Yep.
sell your business, right? Most people, I work with some big operators and some big heavy hitters, and the exit strategy for them is hard. They can either sell it to their instructors, or they kind of just give it away, right? And their
Yeah. That's
instructors
what
don't
I
have the
see.
cash. They don't have the cash, Adam. So next thing you know, they're giving them $20,000 for like a 500,000 word school, and you have a loan that's for 10 years. It doesn't make sense for me, man. It's
Yeah.
great
I
for the
agree.
instructors. It's great for me who bought it that way, but it's not for the owner. So when private equity company comes in, they say, okay, you got 5 locations, you're netting about $1 million. I'm going to offer you $8 million for your company, but I'm going to buy 80% of it. And I need you to stay on, like you said, for 3
Yep.
years. And we're going to double this because I'm going to resell it to the next PE company.
Yeah.
The moment that happens is a good thing for our industry because they're saying, you know what, I'm going to put $6 million in, right, into this company. And I
Yep.
know I'm going to at least make it back because this is how it works. If I put $6 million into your company, when you sell it, let's say I still own 30%, right? You take 70 when you invest 60% in. When I sell it for $10 million, you're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to get another $3 million, right? 30% of 10
Yep.
million. You're not. The private equity company is taking that $6 million out first. It's called preferred stocks. So what's left earnings is 4 million. Now you split 70-30 between those three.
Yeah.
So private equity are really smart that way. They're really smart investors. And the only way that they lose money if Encourage shuts down and you sell it for zero.
So the good side of that is I have a buddy that sold to private equity. Very similar. He did, I think, 70-30 when he sold.
Yeah.
And then private equity sold it. It got sold to private equity probably 5 more times. So he got payouts every single time it got sold. And he's like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's awesome. So that part can work good. We met with a private equity group probably about 6 months ago. And I will say Kid Strong is actually helping the martial arts industry because I think it's bringing more eyes on the character trait and value side of things. Because this whole group of investors I met with, they were pretty much looking to invest in 5 or 6 different types of franchises. They already had a barber franchise that I don't remember the name. It's like you can drink while you get your haircut type of thing, like type of bar and barber together.
That's the new trend now, like for sophisticated haircutters. Yeah.
But they want to meet with us
while you get your haircut.
because they wanted a kids focused one. And their big appeal to move. And we didn't end up moving forward with them because I think it's way too early. But their big appeal was the character development system and the gamification of it, because they saw the numbers that Kid Strong is doing. And they're like, well, what's the next thing like that? They knew about the premiere sale as well. So it finally brought some eyes onto martial arts. Whereas I would say 3 years ago, if I was in a meeting with private equity and I was like, hey, I got this martial arts thing, it would have been all of them laughing at it and been like, yeah, get out of here. So it is cool to sort of see that pivot and seeing more eyes come onto it. And I think the first big like Orange Theory type sale that happens in our industry is going to change a lot for the industry.
Yeah. And that's why we chose not to do it. We want to go to about 10 locations, 20 locations before we do something like that. And it's exciting because our whole team is rejuvenated, man. They're like, oh, dude, this is cool. Like, this is because, before you're like, oh, I make $100,000. It's awesome. Oh, I gross $1 million. Yep. Now you're talking about 10 and 20 million in the industry. And it changes the perception of the industry. It changes the perception of the instructor. I'm actually heading back to HBS, Harvard Business School, for my second round, where, we were the first martial arts school business to graduate from there in their awesome. PLD program, which is their program for leadership development. The owner's president's program is like their top tier program. Now, not even the MBA. Their MBAs from Harvard, hope they get into that program later, because prerequisite is you need to have a company that has at least $10 million in growth to get in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? I just had a back door, man, because I know the program director there. It takes one person to click yes. I'm just gonna say that. Like if you go to the normal channel, like I just treated her really well. Let's say that way when I was at school. So of course, she allowed me to be in that cohort. But that's where our industry is going, right? It's no longer like a mom and pop back in the 50s, 60s Karate Kid. It's now like so mainstream where almost every kid like goes to soccer and do some sort of martial arts at least once. They try it once. Most kids have tried or has known of martial arts, and most parents want them to be in martial arts. So it's an exciting time for industry, man. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's also going to help us attract even more top talent as well. Because when you start to see like private equity and these bigger conglomerates having interest in our industry, when you can start offering points to people to come and work for you, knowing that there's a trend of high volume sales in the industry, I think it just becomes so much easier to bring people from other industries into this to elevate it even more.
So when Adam talks about points, he's talking about equity, percentage ownership of the company. So typically in software, if you want to hire like a really good engineer or like CTO, chief technology officer, it's not just a high salary. They're going to be like, is there equity in it for me?
Yes.
Because they want to grow with it, right? And so that's what Adam's talking about. So that's cool.
Yeah, I would love to see our industry go that route and just bring in some like rock stars from other industries that have already built billion-dollar machines, and they're like coming to our industry for the next thing. That's what I would love, and I know you guys are doing a great job pushing our industry in the future too. So I think we got like an exciting next 5 or 10 years in this industry where there's going to be some massive changes in the right direction. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, man. You and I are getting up there in age, right? I'm 40
Yeah.
now, so I'm starting to look at the next generation too, right? It's kind of a little depressing looking that way, but it's also exciting
Yeah.
to kind of see where we go with social media and like, the factor of the single person, like you say, one person building $1 billion company.
Yep.
Like you can be such a good influencer where your company will like, benefit from it so much. And that's kind of where I see that could potential to happen when you have a really good, like motivational, just like really, influential person that can really push their particular organization by just marketing themselves out there,
Hmm.
and I think that's gonna come with
Yeah.
ours.
I think that's gonna be pretty cool to watch. And I think it's gonna be a lot of new territory, but I think the early adapters are gonna be the ones that see a lot of success with it. Um, Question for you. What's the one business book you recommend for everyone listening to go read?
Yeah, it's a classic for me, man. E-Myth, the Entrepreneur
Yeah.
Myth. But yeah, that's a really easy one. I think it just lays out all of the challenges that we find familiar in our industry and in most
Yep.
industry. So yeah, the Entrepreneurial Myth is a great one if you haven't read that.
Yeah.
And then whatever book that Adam's gonna write next.
Yeah. I'm like, it's funny. There's so many times at a few people offer to work with me on writing the book, and I'm just like, I don't feel like my story's done yet. So I'm like, I don't feel like I should write it yet. Like I almost want to be at a like, I don't know. I want to be looking back at it and be like, all right, I did that. Now I'll write the book type of thing.
Okay.
Also with marketing, everything goes so out of style in like a couple years. You have your foundational stuff that stays the same, but just like tactic wise, that can change overnight pretty easily, especially with all this AI stuff coming out.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you
I'm
know
just,
better than most. You run a marketing company and agency, so I don't. So yeah, man. I
I'm just,
But if you do write a book, I think it will get some good reads.
yeah, I've been toying around with it. Maybe I can write a book just about this freaking year and everything, because there's a lot of
Why?
learning lessons
Something
from
happened
that.
this year? Some
Yeah,
exciting things
I don't know. Yeah,
happened?
just go back a couple podcasts, watch that one. It
I,
explains it.
I I
But
must say I'm really proud and are marvel at the way that you and the team handle all this adversity that comes your way. Right? We talked about this in the martial arts a lot.
sure.
It's not how you win, but also how you lose and how you get up when you get knocked down. And you guys did a class act on all of that, man. So congrats on that.
Well, thank you, and
Yeah.
it was a lot because of our team that we have in place, and their buy-in, and then Kelly. Like, I don't know what I would have done without Kelly this year, because she was keeping shit running while I was dealing with all the drama.
I don't know what we would do without Kelly. I don't know if you guys know this, the
Yeah,
listeners, but Kelly is our people's person in the My Studio company. She meets with every single My Studio employee and team member every month. And she's been doing that for years. So she's kept our team afloat. So, of course, Kelly's legit. Yeah. So
do you watch the show Billions at all, or have you seen that show?
Billions?
Yeah.
No, I have not, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you
I need
watch
to
that
watch it now,
show,
though. Yeah.
there's a woman that works really close to the billionaire on the show, and she's like the Kelly Murray of the company, where she just like does one-on-ones with people like all day, every day. And then
Yeah.
at the same time, when the CEO is starting to make a decision the wrong way, she just like slaps the shit out of him and is like, "What are you thinking?" I'm like, every time I watch that show, I'm like, that's Kelly Murray right there. She's that person.
Exactly. It's like, hey, you want to look out for these guys, their
Yes.
morale's not that high. Or like, hey, you're doing the right thing here. So there's been really helpful. So I second that. I second that.
Kelly needs
You
to
got a
turn
good
this
team.
podcast into an ad for her manager program. Like
Yeah.
we just glowed her out big time. So
I mean, I'll stand on stage, coming up your summit here and I'll say it again, man.
yep, same. Well, too, man, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to give us an hour of awesome insights. I love what you're doing with my studio, and I love the innovations that you're making. I think you've been a leader of the industry for some time now, and it's been fun to watch your growth. But I know you're just getting started, and we're going to see a lot more out of you. But again, just thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Hopefully we can do this together, right? Relentless in my
Yes,
studio as we're doing. So a lot of cool things coming up there. Thanks for allowing me to jump on this podcast, Adam. Appreciate it, man.
absolutely. Thank you, man.
All right, brother.
We're unstoppable to the top. We about to go. That CEO, I need to know the impact. We about to grow. Competition comical. Straight A1, we on the road. Money focus for the goal. Tell them what they need to know. We unstoppable.